Good morning, everyone. Now, today we're summing up the entire All About Stress project, which started back at the first video, and here we are now at video number 54. Now, I've done this project for three reasons. Number one, I've found that as a hobby it has been really interesting searching for and finding such quality information, and it allowed me to learn as well. I found the new technology makes it available to everyone if you're willing to put in the time and are interested. Now, when I started this project, I knew very little about this whole stress and health related subject. But like most, I relied on the health industry to play their part and keep me healthy and informed of the truth. However, more often than not, their input simply didn't exist, was lacking, or even blatantly deceptive. Now, that discovery was a major disappointment and a huge learning curve in itself. Number two, involved one of those standard rules of life. Out of every 100 people who want to better their situation in any way, only 3 will go out of their way to look for the information they need. But a maximum of only 1 person will do something with that information to find out if it works or not. That's less than 1% of the population. So this project is for those few people who, like myself, wanted to know. I hope this information and references will be of help to you. And number 3, I wanted to learn how to video and download onto YouTube and Facebook. Now that was both frustrating and completely beyond my pay rate and learning curve. However, we made it. Now, winding my way through the myth, the fantasy, clever marketing, and even blatant lies has been a really interesting detective journey. After 9 years since I started this project, yes, 9 years has gone past now, I've done the research, have published 2 books on the subject, and have made it freely available along with the references through my YouTube and Facebook channels. Yay! Now, I've kept the story uncomplicated and as a conversation rather than an academic education, so that average people like myself or those struggling with mental health issues or their support members can follow it and not get overwhelmed and get started and build their own awareness and recovery. So pass it on to anyone you feel might benefit. And what have we learned? Well, we learned there were 4 foundation stones required for good health in every creature on the planet. Being aware they exist and providing for them exactly what they need to perform means that many common health issues that us humans can experience in today's world simply do not happen. We learned exactly what sleep was and why it is so crucial to us humans. We learned why good nutrition was vital in the 2 million chemical reactions per second that allow our human body to function. And we learned why 99% of all metabolic diseases are food driven. And in particular, glucose. Common metabolic diseases such as heart, stroke and arteries, type 2 diabetes, cancers and dementia, just to name a few. Now, how do we know that? Because all the credible scientists from around the world are saying the same thing based on their highly credible research publications. They have known about these things for decades. We learned that our human body exists only because of an ancient relationship with specific bacteria that live inside us all. And that is why, as hosts, we must look after them. No one else can do it for us. We learned how our mental and emotional balance is reflecting the influence of all of these foundation stones and therefore the way we view the world around us, and how our mental and emotional imbalance can also undermine the same foundation stones. We learned there is always an underlying reason for mental and emotional imbalance. It doesn't just happen. That's a good thing, because it's also known it's not genetic. And we learned why most human illnesses appear to be progressive disorders compared to the term disease, which is freely bandied around and it strongly appears simply as a marketing tool in support of a 100-year-old business model. Wow, that's a good business model. And we learned that us humans can only think about one thought at a time, positive or negative. Therefore, we must choose a positive thought over a negative one as often as possible, and eventually the positive energy in our thoughts, feelings, and emotions outweighs the negative. Now, how do we know that? Because we've even touched on quantum physics, where it has been scientifically proven. And we learned that our ancient stress response does actually exist, and as it turns out, it defines everything about us humans, from our ability to move around, creativity, enthusiasm, optimism, energy, reproduction, awareness, and aggression. And it defines how our body responds to infections and what are known as diseases on one end of the scale, and natural immunity and good health on the other end. And a lot more, along with the direct influence it has on our physical, mental, and emotional well-being. Phew, we learned that 95%, yes, 95% of all human illness is directly resulting from a stress response operating for too long a period and at too high a level. And if we choose to, we can do something about our health issues starting right now. By reducing stress in our life in every form and at every opportunity. That starts with better quality food that we eat, sleep, looking after our gut bacteria, and being a lot more aware of our thoughts, feelings, and emotional needs. Really simple in theory, but for evolutionary reasons, making changes in one's life is very difficult for most humans. So we must be even more determined until it becomes what we do in our life. Even tiny changes will be having a positive effect. That's how it works. Now, for such a challenging topic, if you have made it through all the videos, believe it or not, but you now have more of an idea of what is happening regarding this subject than most people, including members of the health industry, who ironically, as an industry, are extremely stressed and therefore very unhealthy. This is such a big topic, and the reason why my plan was simply to give you an idea of what is happening inside our body when we feel stress at any time, and to get you thinking and talking about it. One tiny, uncomplicated step at a time, and then access to the references I have found if you wanted to build your own knowledge base. It's all there if you want it. And for those who prefer to hear this message from a doctorate lecturer, I suggest you get a degree in at least 10 different sciences, and more than likely in 10 different universities around the world, because that is how many sciences I've found involved in this subject to date, and I'm certain there are more. And good luck to you. And finally, I've received some incredibly humbling comments, so thank you all. Nice job, everyone. And going forward, I'll be doing a couple of follow-up topics based on the science that I've been asked for. Just simple little questions. What happens if you do this or do that? And I'll give you the best of the information that I've got. But no rush. And that, my friends, is the end of this All About Stress project. And for me, it's on to the next project. So have a great Christmas. And don't forget to consider my book as a Christmas present. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.